It was a cold Christmas night in a secluded village deep in Norway's countryside. Snow fell gently, blanketing the houses in white as families gathered around fireplaces to celebrate. But that evening, something dreadful was about to unfold. Something remembered for generations as the Night of the Deadly Silence. Among the villagers, there was a chilling legend that no one dared speak of openly. The story of Ingrid, a woman who mysteriously vanished decades ago in the forest while searching for a Christmas tree. Since then, people believed Ingrid roamed the village on Christmas nights, searching for her lost family. Her presence was heralded by a haunting melody, luring the unwary into the darkness. That fateful night, a young woman named Solveig decided to challenge the legend. Fueled by curiosity and skepticism, she convinced her friends to venture into the forest where Ingrid had disappeared. Despite warnings from the elders, the group set off, their laughter and flashlights illuminating a night that would soon turn dark in every sense. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the atmosphere shifted. A cold wind carried whispers that seemed to echo from nowhere, and the towering pines cast eerie shadows under the moonlight. Determined to prove the legend false, Solveig led the group with a bold stride. After hours of walking, they reached a clearing dominated by a massive pine tree. Its branches stretched like grasping arms, and a menacing aura surrounded it. As they approached, they heard distant laughter followed by the melody from the legend. The sound was entrancing, pulling some of the group into the shadows without them realizing. Solveig called out to her friends, but they appeared entranced, their gazes fixed on nothingness. Suddenly, the music ceased, replaced by a silence so profound it felt suffocating. Then, Ingrid appeared. She was not human. While she had the form of a woman, her eyes glowed like frost, and her translucent skin shimmered under the moonlight. She said nothing, but her gaze locked onto Solveig, who found herself paralyzed with fear. Without warning, Ingrid raised a hand, and Solveig's friends began walking toward her, drawn as if by an invisible force. Desperate, Solveig tried to flee, but her legs felt as if they were anchored to the ground. Panicked, she began praying, a habit her grandmother had taught her to ward off evil spirits. At the sound of the prayers, Ingrid let out a piercing scream. The sound shattered branches and caused the snow to tremble. Then Ingrid vanished, but not before casting a look that felt like a promise. I will return. Solveig managed to snap her friends out of their trances and lead them back to the village. They were disoriented and unable to recall much of what had happened. When they returned, the church bell struck midnight, but its chime sounded mournful, unlike its usual celebratory tone. The villagers, gathered in the square, spoke of hearing footsteps on their rooftops and seeing shadows at their windows. Solveig recounted her tale, but many dismissed it as a fabrication meant to scare children. Still, no one slept that night. By morning, frozen handprints were found on doors and windows across the village, as if someone, or something, had tried to get inside. Over the years, the village became known as the Land of Dark Christmas. Many residents moved away, but those who remained learned never to ignore the sounds of the forest during Christmas. Solveig's story became a cautionary tale. People claimed that Ingrid still appeared on Christmas nights, especially when someone dared to break traditions or mock the legend. Some said they had seen her ghostly figure near towering Christmas trees, always shrouded in mystery. New tales arose, like the one about a child who vanished after following music on Christmas night, or the man who found a mysterious gift at his door and was never seen again. These accounts strengthened the belief that Ingrid was not alone and that the forest held secrets far darker than anyone could imagine. Christmas, a season of joy and togetherness, also carries shadows that remind us of the fragile boundary between reality and myth. What is it about stories like Ingrid's that continues to captivate us? Perhaps it's the idea that even in times of happiness, there is a part of us drawn to the mysterious, the unknown, and the eerie. These legends remind us that traditions and respect for the past are more than formalities. They're safeguards, preserving the present and ensuring that we don't awaken something better left undisturbed. New York, famous for its dazzling lights and ceaseless energy, transforms into an even more enchanting spectacle during Christmas. The Rockefeller Center glows with its iconic tree. Manhattan's store windows dazzle with magical decorations, and tourists flood the streets to soak up the holiday spirit. Yet, even in this vibrant city, there are chilling tales that reveal the darker side of Christmas. In the 1980s, a series of mysterious disappearances occurred during the holiday season in a neighborhood on the Lower East Side. Locals noticed a strange pattern. All the victims were last seen near an abandoned building, eerily adorned with festive decorations. The place became known as the House of Phantom Lights. Maria Thompson, an investigative journalist, decided to uncover the mystery surrounding the house. What she discovered on that cold December night would become one of New York's most haunting Christmas stories. The abandoned house stood out amidst the bustling cityscape. Despite its decayed facade and shattered windows, every Christmas Eve it was adorned with glowing lights and a grand tree visible from the street. No one knew who decorated it, but the impeccable ornaments drew curious onlookers. Maria arrived at the site at exactly 11:30 p.m. on Christmas Eve. The biting wind howled through the empty streets as the house's lights flickered with an unsettling rhythm. She noticed the door was ajar, almost as if inviting her inside. Crossing the threshold, she was met with the pungent scent of burnt candles and aged wood. In the dimly lit hallway, a single candle burned on a table, accompanied by a sign that read, "Welcome to Christmas dinner." But the house seemed deserted. As Maria wandered through its rooms, she discovered old photographs of families celebrating Christmas. Yet, something was wrong in every image. An eerie figure loomed in the background, or the faces were grotesquely distorted. While investigating the second floor, Maria heard footsteps below. Her heart raced, but she steeled herself to confront whoever was behind the mysterious decorations. However, when she descended, she found only the extinguished candle and an overwhelming sense of being watched. In the living room, an antique mirror reflected something impossible: a group of people who weren't physically present. They wore clothing from various eras, like spectral echoes of Christmases past. At the center stood a woman holding a candelabra, her gaze locking onto Maria as she whispered, "You're invited too." Panic surged as Maria tried to flee, but the front door wouldn't budge. The lights began to flicker violently, and ghostly laughter echoed throughout the house. Desperate, she bolted toward a window, only to feel a freezing hand grip her shoulder. Maria leaped through the window, landing in the snow outside. She ran to a nearby bar, where she breathlessly recounted her experience to an off-duty police officer. The officer's expression turned grim as he revealed the house's dark history. Decades earlier, a tragedy had unfolded there. On Christmas, an entire family was discovered dead around their dinner table, with no apparent cause of death. Since then, the house had been shunned, though its decorations mysteriously reappeared every Christmas Eve, as if the family's spirits were determined to celebrate their final holiday. Maria published her harrowing story, though many dismissed it as a fabricated tale for attention. However, others came forward with similar accounts, reinforcing the belief that something truly sinister resided in the house. Over the years, the House of Phantom Lights has continued to captivate paranormal enthusiasts and holiday thrill seekers. Some claim to hear faint Christmas carols emanating from within, even when the house is sealed shut. Others report an inexplicable chill while passing by, regardless of the weather. On one occasion, a documentary crew spent the night in the house to record a special. Only one member emerged the next morning, speechless and visibly shaken, unable to explain what had happened to the rest of the team. Today, the house remains abandoned, yet its lights still shine on Christmas Eve, their origin a mystery. Locals have learned to keep their distance, allowing the spirits to celebrate undisturbed. Christmas is a time of joy, but it also holds an air of mystery. In a city as vast and layered as New York, where countless stories unfold and lives intersect, it's no surprise that some tales defy logic. The House of Phantom Lights serves as a chilling reminder that, even in the heart of modernity, forces exist beyond our understanding. These stories challenge us to respect the unknown and reflect on how we honor both tradition and fear. Is the spirit of Christmas truly about unity, or does it also carry echoes of the past, waiting to be uncovered? It was a Christmas Eve like many others in a small rural town. Snow gently fell, blanketing the streets and creating a magical atmosphere. However, for the children of Marywood Orphanage, that night would be remembered for something far darker than holiday cheer. The orphanage, located on the outskirts of town, carried a grim history. Decades earlier, a tragedy had struck during a Christmas celebration. An unexplained fire consumed the building, claiming the lives of many children. Ever since, rumors swirled that the place was haunted, though few believed them. That year, the orphanage had been reopened by a young administrator named Margaret. Her goal was to provide the children with a magical Christmas, complete with a towering tree, gifts, and carols. What she didn't realize was that some traditions are best left in the past. On Christmas Eve, as the children laughed and played, something unusual occurred. A large gift box was left on the orphanage's doorstep. There was no sender, just a card that read, "For the children, with love." Intrigued, Margaret decided to open the mysterious present. Inside was an antique doll with glassy eyes and a haunting expression. While the doll gave Margaret an uneasy feeling, the children were captivated by it, eagerly arguing over who would get to play with the toy. Shortly after the doll was placed in the main hall, strange events began to unfold. Lights flickered, whispers echoed through the hallways, and some children claimed to hear faint lullabies in the distance. Margaret tried to dismiss these occurrences, but the atmosphere in the orphanage grew heavier with each passing hour. On Christmas morning, the children decided to play hide-and-seek inside the building. Margaret hesitated, knowing some parts of the orphanage were still under renovation and potentially unsafe, but the children insisted. As the game unfolded, one child, Emily, disappeared. At first, everyone assumed she had found a particularly good hiding spot, but hours of searching yielded no trace of her. Some children claimed to have seen Emily following the doll, which they swore had been walking on its own down the dim corridors. Desperate, Margaret called the police, but the search for Emily turned up nothing. That night, more children began to vanish, one by one. Strangely, each disappearance left behind a faint trail of snow on the floor, even inside the building. Curious about the mysterious gift, Margaret investigated the doll's origin. She discovered it was an ancient artifact tied to the orphanage's tragic past. It had belonged to one of the children who perished in the fire, a lonely girl named Annabelle. According to old records, Annabelle had made a pact with a supernatural force to bring her family back. The fire, it was said, was a result of that entity's intervention. Now the spirit seemed to be using the doll as a vessel to claim new victims. Margaret attempted to destroy the doll, but every effort was thwarted. Lights would go out, doors would lock, and disembodied whispers would urge her to stop. On New Year's Eve, Margaret decided to confront the entity head-on. With the help of a local priest, she arranged an exorcism at the orphanage. The remaining children were evacuated for their safety, but Margaret stayed behind, determined to see it through. As the ritual began, shadows materialized around the doll, taking the form of weeping children with eyes that glowed with malice. The priest was violently thrown against a wall, leaving Margaret alone with the dark forces she had unwittingly awakened. Summoning her courage, Margaret grabbed the doll and rushed to the building's old basement, the site where the original fire had begun. There, she smashed the doll to the ground and lit a makeshift torch. As the flames engulfed the doll, a chilling scream reverberated through the orphanage, and the doll disintegrated into ashes. Margaret passed out but awoke at dawn surrounded by the missing children. They were unharmed but had no memory of what had happened. Though Marywood Orphanage was saved, Margaret was forever changed by the ordeal. She decided to close the orphanage and leave town, but the story of the haunted Christmas became a cautionary tale. These tales remind us that Christmas isn't just about joy and togetherness. It's also about facing the darkness we carry. Perhaps the true holiday spirit lies in confronting the unknown and protecting those we love, even when it demands courage in the face of the inexplicable. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a post. See you in the next video.